All right, so the next philosophy in Hermetics is known as above, so below. And this is a vibrational matching principle between what's happening on a high frequency and how it reflects through a more earthy frequency and form. So this can relate to cosmic movements, to astrological movements. But in this case, we're going to look at what type of spiritual intelligences are attracted to you based on the resonance of your precepts, based on the resonance of your personality, based on the resonance of your black and white mirror. And in Hermetics, we put a huge amount of emphasis on the black and white mirror precepts and vows when you begin, because that's going to be the quality of spiritual intelligences that are going to work through you. So let's say you are interacting with a deity, and whichever deity it might be, and you surrender yourself to that deity can only reflect its influence through a vibrationally like frequency within your astral body. So in Buddhism, they'll say the precepts are through which the energies vibrate and through the precepts and come into form. So the transmission of power from a deity through the individual is through the power of the precept. Without the precept, they can't transmit any power. But what happens unconsciously is if a person isn't managing their precepts well, whatever they connect to will be of a like frequency and it'll vibrate through the personality traits. So if they've ignored the development process of the black and white mirror and they think they're above that, whatever their lifestyle habits are, it will reflect those spiritual powers through their lifestyle habits. So if the lifestyle habits are very high quality through maintaining their precepts and their vows, those universal energies will reflect and mirror energy through them into form. And if the opposite is happening, then that will also be true. And we can't really control what spiritual energies are coming through if we can't control the precepts. So they are the control mechanism for the spiritual intelligences you work with unconsciously, because our personality and our precepts are unconscious. So this reflection as above, so below becomes one of the major influences in where a person ends up in their spiritual journey. And this is why with the courses and workshops, if a person drinks alcohol, this training isn't for you. If they've got lifestyle habits that are not conducive to spiritual work, these workshops are not for you. If you take spiritual medicines, drugs, of any type, this work is not for you, because that masks and removes your ability to see the darker sides of your personality. It means these spiritual forces are going to reflect through. Doesn't matter how much light you work with, it will bounce off the mirror of your soul. It'll reflect off your astral body, and whatever that reflection is, that's on you. It's up to what you want to work with. So this principle as above, so below, we can control the quality of the beings we work with through our vows, through our ethics statement, through our precepts. And those higher energies can reflect purely through a person who is cultivating purity. They'll reflect darkness through a person who does not have precepts. And that's simply a law. Now, once we understand that and we start looking at, okay, how can we connect to these higher spirits through developing the precepts, we look at this principle of reflection from the astral into the higher aspect of the spiritual, the above and below. And when we look at any precept, we can see how the energy mirrors between these spaces. So if you're looking at thou shalt not lie, it has very little to do with lying, but your honoring of truth. And if you have a high respect for truth, then when you connect to a spiritual deity, it will reflect truth in your consciousness. Your insight mind activates, you understand the Dharma more clearly, and things make intuitive sense when you look at them. You go, this is the nature of karma and causation, past, present, future of the stream of how energy is interacting through keeping that precept. Now, if a person didn't honor truth would be cloudy and they wouldn't understand karma, and the insight mind would be unable to activate. So every precept, every quality of integrity within a person has a spiritual reflection of some type. And it's based on these laws of resonance. When you resonate astrally, the spirit also resonates and reflects energy through that for you to have an experience inside of form. So the Hermeticist pays a lot of attention to this and draws spiritual energies through these mirrors, through these resonant tuning forks in their astral body to create different types of effects. As above, so below. This controls where you go in your spiritual direction. You can map everything out, work it all out, but at the end of the day, the spiritual intelligences that affect you are a reflection of your black and white mirror of your soul. Now let's look at some of the alchemy and how to take advantage of this alchemy. So you're in the healing profession. You may be a doctor or massage therapist or helping people in some way through healing. Every time you have a new patient, you have a puzzle in front of you. Oh, what is the problem? How do I fix it? And this is in the present moment when they walk in the door. Now let's say years earlier you made a vow in your astral body, which is not subject to time. I dedicate the merit and the effort of learning healing to all my future patients. And they simply put this vow in place. And they begin studying the information, their method of healing, their process. The unconscious mind aligns outside of time to the future. The astral body exists from a moment of self-awareness to the moment of death. It's a stream. And vows that are truly surrendered from the heart align that stream over time. A vow is different to a precept in that it's much firmer, it's much more committed. It's a tuning fork, past, present, future of this incarnation. This is how I'm going to live my life. So what happens when that patient walks in the door and you made that vow several years earlier, your unconscious mind aligned the information you need to heal that person. You already know what you have to do. And then when you treat the patients, yeah, I know how to heal this person. So you get this release of time that you study the right information now to heal patients in the future because of that vow. So the spiritual beings that you're interacting with, they reflect that information through the vow, through your astral body, through your astral timeline, and synchronize you to your vow. And now, once you have that idea there and you recognize that the past, present, and future is strongly affected by these vows through your astral body and the stream of continuity of information from these deities, how do you word your vow? How can you create these different changes and effects in the information stream, in your experience, and what you magnetically get pulled to learn now so that it benefits someone in the future? There's a few rules to how this works. First, it has to be for the benefit of others, not for the benefit of oneself. And at first you go, oh, that's very altruistic, but why can't it be just for me? Well, if it's a loop back into your own ego, the mental space becomes very small, the merit field becomes very small, and you don't have the supportive power of your environment because it's all about oneself. If your vow has a non-self ideal, which benefits others around you, now there's this larger mental space, there's this larger merit field, and you receive the unconscious support of every person that vow interacts with. So now you're a resonant field of tuning forks that are benefiting from that vow. So you get larger space, more spiritual support, more energetic support, and people who are influenced that vow have gratitude and reflect back more power for you, that vow, to help others. So that's a reciprocal effect. So the vow has to be non-self, it has to benefit other people, it has to come from the heart, and there has to be a sense of truth within your integrity when you make that vow, that it's not contrived, that it's genuine in that you want to expand and help the group consciousness in some way, shape or form. Whether you build things, let's say you build guitars, and when you make that guitar, you want to make it in such a way that you have a vow that this is going to create beautiful music for the user to share with other people, and that is going to bring joy and happiness to all. And that might be your vow as a guitar maker. And you put your best, your heart into making that guitar to share that music and let that merit travel down the line for all the people who use that guitar in the future. So it doesn't have to be in a direct interaction with the recipient of your vow. It can be indirect over time. So someone who picks that guitar up in 10 years from now is going to feel the energetic love for music that you put into it when you created that instrument. So how you word your vow is in direct correlation to your journey, your path of service, how you wish to make the world a better place. So this as above, so below principle, you're connecting high spiritual power through a vow that has action, it has heart, it has concentrated mind, and then this reticulates and creates this effect between as above and so below. Now this is a practical thing you can think about and implement within days of understanding of it. You can go, what vow is going to affect the way I think, the way I feel, the way I interact with my environment, and then make that vow. And it might just be, I want to be more positive as a person. I'm going to look at people's best, every person I look at. I'm going to see, this is the pearls in their crown, this is their potentiality, this is what they're good at. And I'm going to label them that way, and I'm unconsciously going to look at people in a more positive outlook. That might be your vow. And then you live by that vow, and then you just start doing that as a part of your lifestyle. And it doesn't matter how negative a person is, you'll look at the light within them and then label them as that light, and not give attention to the darkness within people or your environment, your situation. That's a very simple starting point to make that type of vow. Then you increase the complexity of vow based on your path of service. And what comes from your heart naturally will reflect that complexity. I like very, very simple vows. Some people like very, very complex vows. If you're a teacher, of course, the quality of your students is the quality of you being a teacher. So if you produce high quality students, that makes you a high quality teacher. That means if you teach, you make a vow that you learn and study and practice for the benefit of your students. So that would be the teacher's vow. It's not about the teacher knowing all this information and having a status and honor and anything like that. All the status and honor for the teacher is in the quality of the student. If the student gets it and achieves great things, that means the teacher is great. If the student doesn't achieve great things, then that means the teacher is not great. So this vow amplifies the quality of information you share with people. It also attracts information into your unconscious field that you're going to need in the future, but it does so now. So when people ask a question years from now, you go, yeah, I've already learned that information, and pulls from the unconscious into the conscious, and you can share that information. So you get access to a much larger information field if you have that vow as a teacher. Okay, so this law as above, so below, this is one of the first ways we apply it. Now there's a multitude of different applications for this, but this is step one astral training. This is where you start your Hermetic journey. Define the lifestyle. What am I going to attract? Define the astral personality. What am I going to attract? How do I concentrate the mind to come into resonance with these high frequency spiritual beings, the living mind of the universe at its highest? And how does that consciousness reflect through my astral and physical experience? By defining your path and defining your precepts as tuning forks and your vows as directions of energetic movement and learning, you get on a track and you start moving forward very, very quickly. Because your unconscious mind has a direction set, has a method set, has a causation chain set for things to happen. If a person doesn't define their astral mirror clearly and doesn't define their precepts and doesn't define these vows, one is going to float. It's not, your directions are not clearly enough set, and the Dharma pathway is not set. Now, even if one goes, I want to achieve this, and this is how I'm going to achieve it, the rate at which they do achieve it is still set up by this as above, so below principle. So it has to be incorporated into all the other practices that you're working on. Okay, I'll leave the comments open on these videos. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them when I have time. Okay. Thank you, and see you on the next video.